Welcome to my studio. Today we're going to do a little tour of the space. This space has taken, I suppose, a few iterations over the years. Yeah, it's taken a few attempts to get to this place, and I think this is the most satisfied I've been with my workflow and all the stuff I have in here, which is actually actively contributing to making music. Everything I have here I would 100% recommend, but it's obviously also down to personal preference. Okay, like with any studio, one of the most important things is sound. So we'll start with my monitors, which are the Adam T5Vs. They are entry-level monitors, and I got them about 6 years ago, and they were released as a competition for the Yamaha HS5s, which are really popular, you know, entry-level but very good monitors in the studio. Very simple pair of active near-field monitors. They're good, they work in this room. I've got a little bit of sound proofing happening across the wall there. I actually picked these up, this whole set here, for about 20 quid off Amazon. They're self-adhesive and they just stick at the back. Yeah, it takes the edge off of the room. Speaking of treating studios, I actually use a software called Sonarworks, and that is a key factor in how the sound functions in this room. Essentially, you get a little mic and then you pull out the software, and it uses about 30 plus mic positions, and it learns what the EQ deficiencies are in the room. So the point of this software is to give you as flat of a line as possible to work with. So this is what it looked like before. You can see some crazy stuff going on here, and then so I turn it on and it gives me as flat a line as possible. The good thing about this particular software is that it actually comes with a lot of presets for popular headphones and speakers, so you can just whack that on and it corrects, you know, 80% of stuff that you wouldn't be able to otherwise. Another way I use this is also have it on the master channel of my DAW. Yeah, again, a really good starting point. Yeah, I call it a corrected sound for the room. It's not necessarily perfect, but it's miles better with it on, and it makes a massive difference. And then headphones that I use in the studio are the very popular 770 Pros by Beyerdynamic, and they're really comfortable. They don't fatigue your ears. They're closed back and they are just brilliant. If you've been anywhere near a studio somewhere, you're probably very likely to find one of these in there. And then lastly, the hub. It's the Antelope Discrete Pro 8. So Antelope make top tier interfaces. They're not just an interface, they're almost like a bit of an ecosystem, a bit of a hub for everything you'd want to do in a studio, and also when you take it out onto the road. They come with state-of-the-art preamps and expansion capabilities for a bigger studio or live. It was actually recommended by my mix engineer, John Duckett. So when we want to mix stuff or do stuff live, he is able to seamlessly connect to my interface, take all the routing from there and work remotely or work independently wherever he is. I also have the Zen Q. I think the Discrete 4 is the baby brother, and this is a bit of like a cousin, but it shares a lot of the amazing sound quality that Antelope have across their whole range. So I take that out with me when I'm either traveling or I'm on the road, or if I'm going away to write somewhere. It also helps because it shares a lot of the processing as well, so I don't have to switch between interface types to try and get the same result wherever I'm at. So Antelope Audio, highly recommend. Okay, let's move on to the piano. So this piano is the Keybird X1 by a Danish piano company called Keybird. They make these small portable upright pianos which can literally fit into an estate. They're a fairly new company and we wanted to partner with them, so it's great to see new piano companies innovate and create beautiful instruments. Sound-wise, it's quite bright and warm at the same time. Yeah, bright in the sense that it's got a lot of clarity to it because it's single strung. It's got one string per note, across the board. It gives warmth, and the low notes especially really hug. And then a good upright piano needs some good mic. The only mics I use are the Coles 4038s. You take these covers off, basically these giant magnets. So they give you a warm, natural sound, which is what I want out of a piano. They're really good at taking in low end, and they've got these large kind of, magnetic filament things in them. So you're not short of detail on these mics, but what I love about them is that the warmth naturally comes through. I don't have to boost anything in the mids, the low mids, or the lows for this mic. Moving on to instruments. So as you can tell, we've got some synths. We'll start with the newest member of the studio, which is this Moog Subsequent 25. It's a duophonic synth. You can play 2 notes at once, which is actually brilliant. It's helpful. But also I prefer the Subsequent 25 to the Sub-Fatty, which is, I think, just an older version of this, because it comes with the wooden panels and the non-sticky rubber situation that all those older Moogs had. I've seen some disgusting Moogs in my time. I actually wanted to know what Moog was thinking with that. I'll do a deep dive of how I use this in another video, but for now, this is contributing to all the low end that we make in the studio, which is absolutely brilliant. Moving on here, we've got the Sequential TAKE 5. This was my first proper synth, if you can call it that. I actually got it just for this little cutoff filter, because this cutoff filter was talked up by one of my heroes, Tony Anderson, because he has the Sequential Pro 3, and it's just the throw on the filter and what the filter actually does to, elevate the sounds was stunning. So I wanted to get something that had that. It's got 5 voices and it's as detailed as any synth. It's got a brilliant arpeggiator and a sequencer. Yeah, it's a brilliant synth, especially if you want a top level synth that isn't 2 or 3 grand. This is great. Let me switch. Okay, so these pedals, I actually see these as instruments, not just as effects pedals. There's a lovely little plant here. We've got the Specular Tempus by GFI, we've got the Mercury 7 by Meris, and the Microcosm by Hologram Electronics. I actually see them as instruments because I give them quite an important role to play in the kind of music I make. So oftentimes I will run a channel strip or an instrument through these pedals, and then once they have their place in the song, I actually compress the effects, especially the reverbs. So then you have this really squashed, really saturated kind of reverb that sits in the background, and I automate that as we go. I will do a deep dive into how I use effects. Like with any other thing in the studio, we will get into some specific videos for each thing, but especially like reverbs, I use 10 reverbs between the pedals and what I've got on my DAW. So we'll get into another day, but these pedals are incredible. And then I just have a little kind of mixer here. I wanted a little switcher, but I decided to get a little kind of USB powered mixer instead that goes between the synths. K.O.II, and it's basically a sampler, and it has samples. I use it to sample nature sounds, other interesting textures and sounds that I find as and when, and then I sort of try and play them into a song or play them into a track. It's actually a really easy way to capture sounds and hold them in one place. I just needed a really simple sampling device. Also, Teenage Engineering are just probably the best at that type of instrument. I can easily put patterns into it and create just very interesting ambient sounds that you wouldn't be able to do on a synth or on a MIDI instrument. But this, for about 200 quid, is absolutely incredible, and it works on batteries, so you can take them wherever you want. Okay, let's get into some extras. So I run Ableton and Logic. I've recently moved over to Ableton for writing as well. I was only using it for live, but I found that I'm moving more and more towards sample-based writing, and sampling more in the sense that I'm sampling my own audio recordings. So I will record a synth ARP journey for a song, but then I will take bits of that and run that through other emulations on Ableton or on other plugins, which I find really easy to do on Ableton compared to on Logic. So that's been a recent shift, which is really exciting, especially with Ableton 12 and all the capabilities of that. Let's talk about this desk. This desk is from IKEA. You've got the legs at the bottom and the desk here. Just gonna have a sip of coffee. Really simple, sort of clean, minimal writing space. Got a photo of my wife on our wedding day. Oh, this is a brilliant little controller. Let me show you this. So this is by Intech Studio and it's modular, and you can assign these to whatever you want. But I use this to control my Ableton session for live. And also in the studio, I use it to program strings because you need an expression and a modulation kind of fader to program artificial strings really well. The buttons are super tactile and the throw on the fader is so smooth. But yeah, you can get a few variations of these on Intech Studio's website, so highly recommend. I've got this chair, which is a decent chair. I picked it up from Amazon. It's good. It's not like the greatest chair in the world, but it looks after me, so that's fine. Yeah, and then a couple of plants to make sure that I'm not lost in technology. And then these are my everyday listening headphones by Bang & Olufsen. Exceptional sound quality, and they give AirPods a run for their money because they do a lot of things that AirPods don't. I'll just leave that with you. I'm not going to get into a debate about what's better and what isn't. I think that's all for now. If you have any questions about any specifics or if I've missed anything out, let me know, drop me a comment. All right, guys, well, that is my humble studio tour. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you very soon. Bye.